Hi everyone. If you've been following along, you know that we completed the Labyrinth of Egypt chapter set of rooms in Escape Simulator. Today we're looking at tackling the first room, Emergency Awakening, as part of the Adrift in Space chapter. So you can see here that obviously to start the room it's quite a bit different than our Egyptian escape rooms. Lots of different kind of colors, sounds, looks. Let's get a start here. So we have a panel here for emergency activation protocol, for fire, flood, loss of gravity. So what we need to do with this is decide which of these three scenarios we're encountering right now, and then we have to, obviously each one corresponds with a letter. So fire being D, flood being E, and loss of gravity being F. We have to make sure that this symbol is pressed at the same time as A, B, and C are connected. So I'll show you what that looks like. Obviously what our situation is right now is the loss of gravity, so we know we're going to be trying to connect F at the same time as A, B, and C. So realistically, this tablet corresponds with this puzzle here. What you need to do to unlock that is break the glass to get this wrench in the corner of the room and just unscrew this panel here. Slide this panel off. We can pin this for simplicity's sake, just so we know what we're trying to do here. So again, as I mentioned before, we're looking to combat the loss of gravity here. We know it's letter F, and it needs to be connected at the same time as A, B, and C. So we're gonna spin this. Actually, I'm gonna unpin this just because it's kind of getting in the way here. There we go. Okay, so we know we need A, B, C, and F all connected at once. You can see these arms all need to connect to those letters. So we have a couple of different A's, we have a couple of different B's, C's, and only the one F. So we know that whatever we're trying to connect needs to be connected to the F here. We have a D, a C, a B, but we don't hit the A. We don't hit the F still. There we go. So we have our A, we have our F, we have our C, and we have our B. Go ahead, pull the lever. And that turns on our power. So from here we can go ahead and now we can actually make use of this monitor now that power has been restored to this cabin here. So these are a couple of different symbols that we kind of need to be on the lookout as we start tearing apart the room. Looks like there's a rocket ship that's either going to have a 7, a 4, a 2 on it. Looks like there's a couple of different trophies, either with a star, a square, or a circle. And then there's also a couple of different words or names or something here. Something in these symbols is going to look familiar to us as we start tearing this room apart. So open this drawer here. We have a battery that we'll make use of later, so collect that for now. We have another tablet for the emergency door protocol. So we can see, obviously, if you look over here, this is the emergency door. With this tablet, when you're viewing it, you can see obviously that we're currently in red, which means that there's a sensor malfunction and we need to override that. It also says at the bottom of this tablet that for attachment A, so this first kind of subset of instructions here, when we're able to get into the PC, we have to hit the door icon 5 times. That activates this protocol. So something to be mindful of once we tackle this first puzzle here. So tearing apart the room, we have a plain trophy, which obviously we know we're not looking for. What else do we have here? Dig into this, and we have a trophy that looks somewhat familiar here. It is the circle with wings and a star, so we can go ahead and click that. We can always change it if we find something that's a little bit more appropriate, but that looks pretty bang on. We have a rocket ship here with 7, so we can go ahead and plug that in. Again, we can change it if we find something that matches a little bit better, but can't imagine that there is anything like that. Nothing in this cubby here. Got a box of tools that we can click and open. This is going to be beneficial for later. You can see here there's a screwdriver, there's a square-headed tool and a triangular-headed tool. We'll pick up the triangular-headed tool because we're going to use it on this panel here. So as you can see, again, we are in that emergency protocol, the red protocol. Open this up here, and there's a robot here. So what you want to do is spin it over, and open the backing and take the good battery from it. You don't need the corroded battery because there are enough batteries in the room that'll eventually supply this panel here. So like I said, don't grab the corroded one because there's no real way to clean the corrosion off to make it usable. It's just something that's kind of like a decoy battery there. So it looks like the last one that we're looking for is the word or name or whatever it is. And actually how you get that is just by turning these projections on. And if you inspect this a little bit, you can see that there's the word Odin on this dog's bowl. So it looks to be the name of the dog. So we'll go ahead and plug that in on this puzzle here. And we're into the computer. So this message doesn't mean anything, neither does this picture. Really what we want on this is that door protocol. So if you remember, just with this tablet here, obviously once you get into the computer, you're supposed to hit the door icon 5 times to activate the protocol. So we can go back here, hit it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that activates the emergency protocol. So as you can see here now, this is turned to orange just to let us know that we're actually in that protocol now. So now it means EDM is active but requires more power, supplied by using batteries. So we've collected 2 batteries already. Again, we only want the ones that don't have corrosion on them. We need to find where this last battery is. And I feel like this is in a couple of different places. Depending on where you're looking. I've found it on the floor before. I don't know if it dropped out of the sky, but you can see here actually that there's a raised pillow. If you look underneath, that's where the last battery is. So turn around, plug that in. Everything turns green. Obviously, I mean, you can pretty much figure out that everything should be all good to go, but just to confirm that with the panel here, everything's green. The doors can now be unlocked. Hit the panel and you escape the room. So I know I talked a lot longer than probably necessary. Realistically, you could escape this room in 2 or 3 minutes, but just to kind of give a sense of where everything is in the room and to explain the puzzles a little better, but relatively simple. That's one thing that we've realized with this game is it definitely starts you out. The simpler rooms have a lot less puzzles, but you can see though the differences, especially if you've been following along with the Labyrinth of Egypt. Different scenes and like different style puzzles. These are a lot more text heavy so far, reading and kind of interpreting the tablets and what to do with them. But hopefully this video helped you. If it did, give us a like and subscribe to Friendly Frenzy Games for more guides, tips, and tricks.